Okay, so today we're looking at biconditional statements. That's these ones with the double arrows. And it's the if and only if statements. So one thing you need to know is that P, if and only if Q, also means if P then Q and if Q then P. It means these two statements together. That's why often when you hear me say it doesn't matter which direction you go with a P, if and only if Q, it's because you can state it first, if P then Q, and then reverse it, if Q then P. Okay, so if both those statements. Okay, so I want to show you how to derive what the rule is for a biconditional statement by going through and actually doing the truth table for this. So I'm going to first do a if P then Q. Okay? We know that with an if-then statement, we are looking for what? A true and then a false. Here we are right there. So this one will be a false, and everything else will be a true. Now I'm going to do the other one. Q, then P. So the only thing about this, if I make this column Q then P, I have a tendency to get things reversed in my head. So I would recommend that you guys just copy the two columns again, make this a Q, make this a P, and just copy them over here so your eyes don't wig out like mine do. They just don't work for me sometimes. Okay, so now I'm going to do the Q, then P, okay? So here we are. This is where my true false is right here. So this is going to be F, and then everything else will be a true. So now we want to put these two together. And I'm going to highlight the two columns that we need to pay attention to. We're looking at this column right here and this column right here. So if it's an and statement, we're looking for two what? True. Two trues. So the first one's a true, the second one's a false, third one's a false, and the fourth one is a true. Okay, so notice this. Notice that the two starting statements were true, and I got a true. The two starting statements were a false, and I got a true. So, for a biconditional statement, they are only true when both statements are the same. Okay, this is what you need to remember right here. Is that for a biconditional statement, it is only true when both statements are the same. Okay, so here we have a statement with an if and only if, and I wanted to practice one with you guys, okay? So, first thing I want to do on this one is look at my parentheses. I'm going to use the one on the left first, so I'm going to do a P or Q column right here. Okay? So it's an or statement. What am I looking for? Two falses, and that is right here. So that'll be a false. Everything else will be a true. Okay, now on my second statement up here, we have a not Q in that. So I'm going to go ahead and write a not Q first for this column. So not Q, and that is the Q column all flipped. Okay, so we got a T here, that makes this an F here. We have an F here, that will make this a T, and so on.
Why is that last one T?
Because it's this entire column.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, it's a not. So I'm just flipping it. Okay? Okay, now, because order matters, I'm going to go ahead and just copy my P. If you can do it in your head, then you don't have to worry about it. But I'm going to just put it here, just because I don't want to make an error. Okay? Now I will do a not Q, then P. So I have to look for what? A true and then a, right here, that's the only one I have. So this is going to be a false. Everything else will be a true.
I thought the false true was false.
Mm-mm.
Oh, then we're missing the first one.
All right, so now we're going to put all of this together. We got the if and only if, and I want to look at this column right here and this column right here only. Okay? So I need to look and see where it's the same. Those two are the same. These two are the same. These two are the same, and this is the same. So what does that tell you about everything in the last column? They're all true. What is that called again?
What is what?
What is this called when everything is true? Tautology. Okay? If it's all false, it's a self-contradiction. There you go. Okay, so we need a basic truth table with 3 letters. So we're going to have a P, a Q, and an R. And remember with that, we're going to have 8 combinations. So we have 4 trues, 4 falses. And then the Q's will be 2 trues, 2 falses, and repeated. And then the R's are true, false. Oops. True, false, true, false, true, false. All right, so that's the basic table that you're going to start with. Okay, and so on the first one, I want to look at P and R. Okay, so P and R, I'm looking only at these 2 columns right here, and I'm looking for what? 2 truths, right? Okay, so the first one I have a true. The second one's a false. Then I have a true again, a false, false, a false, a false, and a false. All right, and the next one I want to do a Q or R. So if I'm looking at an or statement, what am I looking for?
You are looking for 2 falses to make a false.
2 falses to make a false, and I'm looking at these 2 columns. Okay, so we have 2 falses right here. Is there any other ones?
At the bottom.
Yes, the bottom. Okay, so this will be a false. This will be a false.
Everything else would be true.
Everything else will be a true. Now I want to make a not Q and R, Q or R. So what am I going to do with this column? I'm just going to flip it.
Yeah, you flip it.
Okay, and then the last column is my if and only if statement. P and R, if and only if,
I'm gonna highlight those.
not Q or R. So yes, I am going to highlight this one and this one. So I'm looking for the same statements. And the only places I have that are, here's one, here's another. So those places where I'm highlighting, Those are, they have the same values, so they will be true on the end. Everything else will be a false. Because it's an if and only if statement.
If and only if.